everybody, welcome to the show around the nation. I'm Jeff Waldorf. We're going to have a good show for you guys today, so thanks for tuning in. If you haven't already, please give us a like and a share. That helps us get out. Those of you who are familiar with the show, if you're just tuning in for the first time, I've got a great show for you guys today. We're going to talk about Syria. We got a couple of stories on Syria. I agree with Tucker Carlson. What in the world? But wait, we're going to talk about that. That's actually really interesting. I know I just kind of gave it away, but I want to break down why. Then John Boehner, he's back, and he wants to be your dealer. I'm not kidding. Strange things happening today. Agreeing with Tucker Carlson, John Boehner. Earlier today, of course, I talked about Paul Ryan, so we kind of got that out of the way. But yes, Paul Ryan is not running for re-election for various different reasons, including the fact that the Republicans are kind of fucked when it comes to the midterms. Also, Randy Bryce, of course, is a strong progressive challenger, and the fact that why would he want to continue working in Congress, having to deal with Trump when he's already gotten the tax cuts? He already got the tax cuts. And, of course, that is leading to another story that I have today about welfare. Lovely. Then I'm going to... So, look, I generally don't go deeply into celebrity stuff, but there's a reason I will be talking about Moby today, and it has to do, of course, with certain governmental programs. So I'm going to do a little bit of a critique on Moby's opinion that essentially nobody asked for, but I'm going to try and do it in a nice way because I think it's coming from a good place. So I'm going to address that before everybody gets too angry. Then, again, we got plenty of stories today we'll talk about. So that's basically your breakdown, okay? Now, hold. I drank a little too much coffee today, so I know that's, like, not a thing, but it's actually a thing. And it gives me heartburn. Anyway. Okay. So, let's get into the first story. So this is going to be interesting. This is Syria. So we'll start with Syria. Okay. It has begun. Donald Trump is about to bumble us into another disastrous war. Now, earlier this morning, President Trump, he's been in a rage all week, especially since his lawyer, Michael Cohen, got raided by the FBI. And without any sort of calming influence, for example, from Hope Hicks, he has just been on a tear. He's been in a rage. So a good example of this is where he tweeted about Syria. He said, Russia vows to shoot down any and all missiles fired at Syria. Get ready, Russia, because they will be coming nice and new and smart. You shouldn't be partners with a gas-killing animal who kills his people and enjoys it. So that tweet is monumentally stupid, even for Donald Trump. Oh, no. The missiles will be nice and new, and they will be smart. And yet Donald Trump will still be dumb. Because that was really, really stupid. Okay, you're just going to go on Twitter, and you're going to what? You're going to taunt Russia? You're going to taunt Syria? You'll be like, get ready for the missiles, Russia. How dumb are you to have to do that? Seriously. As if we have to ask, of course. Look, this is the kind of thing, by the way, that a lot of us have been warning about. Like, hey, if Donald Trump gets elected, he's going to be a disaster. He's probably going to bumble us into wars. Now, lucky enough, we haven't been bumbled into a war with North Korea, but now it's looking like Syria and maybe even Russia, which is insanity. Insanity. Especially considering that before all this happened, we were going to pull out of Syria. We're actually going to do something good. Donald Trump was actually going to do something absolutely positive. And suddenly, no, not going to happen. We're going to reverse course. We're going to stay in Syria forever. And not only that, but we are going to antagonize Russia. But wait, I thought you didn't want to do that. I thought you didn't want to stay in Syria. In fact, he has talked about during his campaign, even before running for president, he would criticize President Obama in Syria. And he talked about, we're not going to go into Syria. There's nothing there for us. Nothing but death and destruction. Nothing for America. There's no reason to go in. There's no reason to go in. And now there's a reason to go in. And by the way, what also happened to not telling people about what you're going to do to keep them off balance? In fact, I want to show you a tweet here about that. Why do we keep broadcasting when we are going to attack Syria? Why can't we just be quiet, and if we attack at all, catch them by surprise? Well, that appears to be the complete opposite of what you just did. Say, get ready, Russia, because missiles will be coming. Not very smart. Not very smart at all. Jeez and Lord mercy, we're dealing with Joffrey, but a dumber Joffrey. Now look, I'm actually surprised that this hasn't happened sooner. But hey, we are where we're at. And look, this is because Donald Trump, he says, oh, no, let's not go into ridiculous wars. I'm going to criticize Iraq. I'm going to criticize going into Syria. But it turns out that he has no core, no ideology. He didn't actually believe that in the first place. Why did he criticize that then? Well, because that was something he could criticize Hillary Clinton for. She went to Iraq. Criticize George W. Bush for also, going into Iraq. And President Obama on for when it comes to Syria. Oh, no, I'm going to criticize those people because I'm running against them. And I'm trying to run as something different. But again, I'm going to do the same thing once I get into office as all those people and try to start ridiculous, dumbass wars over Twitter. Congratulations, you have shown that you have absolutely no integrity. As if we didn't know that before. But again, you prove it every single day. No core ideology. And you've also shown that how easily it is to manipulate you. He's surrounded by mainstream media that hasn't met a war they didn't like, right? He's not only that, but he's surrounded by the generals as well. The military-industrial complex that, of course, wants another war because they make money off war. That's our whole purpose. We serve the defense contractors. The defense contractors give us millions and millions of dollars. And so we're going to, and where do the defense contractors get that money? They get that money from the government for going to war. This is all about war. This is all about more profit. He's got John Bolton in there now. John Bolton is one of the biggest neocon war hawks we've ever seen. John Bolton wants to invade North Korea. Thinks there should be boots on the ground. Not only that, but he wants to go to Iran as well. Well, it looks like the first stop is Syria. Have we learned absolutely nothing from Iraq? And again, it's not just the neocons, too. This is the thing that bothers me the most, right? You have pundits that are on both the left and the right. But on the supposed left, MSNBC, that are saying, oh, Donald Trump, you need to be stronger on war. You need to be strong in bomb Syria. That's on MSNBC. You have Howard Dean saying, oh, stop being so weak, Donald Trump, and drop bombs on Syria. So you have the media that can't wait for another war. And again, you got the neocons as well. And look, this is what happens when you have a gullible idiot surrounded by all of those things. I mean, Brian Williams, for fuck's sake, when Trump launched his first missile attack against Syria, Brian Williams was out there saying, oh my God, that's so beautiful. And other pundits were like, that was the day that Donald Trump became president. What is the one thing that the media has never criticized President Trump for? Launching attacks. What is the one thing the media cannot criticize any president for? And that's going to war. That's going to war. Again, have we learned nothing? Nothing from Iraq, Afghanistan, Libya. This president was supposed to be at least the one that wasn't going to lead us into more wars. And again, now he's threatening war. And look, this might be a distraction. It is entirely possible that, yes, he's manipulated, of course, as I just made the case. It also could be a distraction. I mean, look, you've got Michael Cohen, Trump's lawyer, that was just raided by the FBI. Now, Michael Cohen is looking into some very serious charges. Now, he's been Trump's lawyer for a very, very long time. This is a guy who wanted a place in the White House, in the administration. He can get either. How did his loyalty to President Trump get rewarded by? Nothing. We don't even know if he got his money back. It's $130,000 from paying off Stormy Daniels or any of the other women that Donald Trump wanted paid off in hush money. Well, you think he's going to stay loyal to Trump? You think he's going to keep his secrets? No, I don't think that at all. That's one thing that could bring down Donald Trump. And look, he knows it. All this financial stuff that he's tied up in. That's why he's unhinged, man. He's got nobody to calm him down. John Kelly can't get through to him. John Kelly's being sidelined. And he's at a point where he's capable of doing anything. And what I'm afraid that he's going to do is he's going to continue pushing us into this disastrous war where thousands of innocent people will die. And part of it will be possibly a distraction from Mueller. So, I'm going to go to a tweet here, right, that sums up this situation. And it's going to come from a very highly unlikely source. Donald Trump. He said, "Be prepared. There is a small chance that our horrendous leadership could unknowingly lead us into World War III." Those are strangely prophetic words, steeped in intense irony. Man. Okay. I'm not done with Syria. So earlier today, President Trump went on a disastrous Twitter rampage on the topic of Syria. Now, he said on Twitter, "Russia vows to shoot down any and all missiles fired at Syria. Get ready, Russia, because they will be coming nice and new and smart." No, there was nothing smart about that. That was very, very stupid. That tweet was dumb, and the person who tweeted it is also incredibly dumb. Now, this, of course, comes after pressure, intense media pressure from both the supposed left and the right to bomb Syria. Now, look, the reason that they say that, oh, no, we need to be tough on Syria is because there were some videos that are so far unverified of children, adults being horrifically gassed. I mean, nobody can watch those videos and not be devastated at the cruelty and the loss of life. It's horrible. It's clearly a gas attack, and it's clearly something that is just absolutely horrifying to watch. Now, do we know who launched that gas attack? Unfortunately, we do not. Now, Assad himself has said, okay, look, you think I did the gas attack? Come and do investigations. We are inviting you into Syria so that you can investigate whether or not we did the gas attack. Because we didn't do it. We gave up all our chemical weapons. We're not interested in that. We would have we're on the precipice of winning this war anyway. So go ahead, come into the country and go and inspect us. And we can guarantee that you will come up with no chemical weapons because we didn't do it. That is what the government of Assad is saying. Now, look, if you want to say, well, I don't believe Assad because he's a monster, I will concede that, yes, he is a monster. But does it make any sense when you're about to win a conflict to do something that's going to inflame the international community and bring America, who said they were going to leave, back into the fight to make sure that there is regime change? No, it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense to me. And look, ultimately, and unfortunately, we seem to be barreling towards another conflict without knowing what the facts actually are in this gas attack. Okay. And look, we've seen this movie before. This movie did not end well. So, and unfortunately, as I said, most of the media is calling for a conflict in Russia. Now, thankfully, we do have some people that are also saying that maybe we should not go to war without knowing the facts, without doing some sort of investigation. And even if we do know the facts, that we should still not go to war. Now, one of those people happens to be somebody that I disagree with on a lot of domestic issues, a lot of different policy issues. We have different points of view. Now, this person, however, look, even though I disagree with him on a lot of issues, on this situation, we do agree. In fact, let's hear what he has to say.
Leaders on both sides of the aisle in Congress, in the media, in our intelligence services, in virtually every overfunded think tank in Washington, have suddenly aligned tonight on a single point of agreement. America must go to war in Syria immediately. Bashar al-Assad cannot continue to lead that country. He must be overthrown. Assad is an evil man, they tell us. His latest crime is a chlorine gas attack carried out over the weekend by his forces against a rebel-held suburb of Damascus. Assad's poison gas suffocated children. Pictures of the aftermath of that are all over the internet, and they are horrifying. Assad is a monster. That's the official story. Almost everyone in power claims to believe it. The push to war in Syria, by the way, has united politicians from both sides. Lindsey Graham and Howard Dean typically agree on very little. Not much at all. But today, they are both calling for war in Syria. Graham is demanding massive attacks on the Syrian military. Dean is going even further than that. On Twitter, he called the president, quote, a wimp for merely sending thousands of troops and launching tons of bombs at Syria. That's not enough for Howard Dean, who, as you may remember, once ran for president as the peace candidate. Tonight, he wants total war in Syria. Television pundits, of course, strongly agree. This morning, the foreign policy team over on MSNBC explained that it's far more important for American troops to fight in Syria than it is to secure our own border here in America.
Okay. So, look, he's basically laying out the fact that here we go. We have a media that is pushing for war. Now, later on, he asks, will it make us safer to invade Syria? How will it help America? Well, it won't. How do we even know it was Assad that did it? Again, we don't know. These rebel groups have everything to gain from America staying and continuing and escalating their situation. So, yeah, maybe... Look, he's being criticized as saying, oh, this is a false flag. No, what he's saying is, let's get some more information first, because there are so many things that we don't know, and let's not rush into a war. And I think that that's actually 100% correct, and I think that's the right take on this situation. And he rightly points out that here you have MSNBC, which, of course, yes, he's going to have a bias against. He's a Fox News host. But he's saying, look, MSNBC, the supposedly left station, is saying we should go to war. Howard Dean, somebody who ran in the Peace Party, is now saying we should drop bombs and kill innocent people. He's absolutely right in his criticism. And this is something that, look, I don't like having to say this, okay? So I'm not a fan of Tucker Carlson. I'm not a fan of pretty much anything he believes. And it pains my soul to agree with him so thoroughly on an issue. But that's where it is. That's where we are in this situation that we never thought we would be. This is uncharted waters. So, but when it comes to war, look, there's people on the left, obviously progressives, that are saying the same thing. That are anti-war. That are like, hey, wait a minute, we've been through this before. We've been to Iraq. Have we learned nothing from the situation in Iraq? Have we learned nothing from Libya? Have we learned nothing from all these different conflicts that are driven by media that loves war and a military-industrial complex that also loves war? By financial interests that profit heavily from going to war. Have we learned nothing from their escapades? Look, there were intelligence failures that led to the conflict in Iraq, which proved to be incredibly disastrous for not only the country, but the region. Out of Iraq came ISIS. Libya, they now have human slave trades going on. And we have essentially forgotten about it. We have essentially ignored it. Hey, man, look, we bombed the shit out of Libya, and then we just let it go. I mean, look, I don't want to be nation building. You know what the best way to avoid nation building is? Not destroying a fucking nation. Wouldn't that make a whole lot of sense? It makes a lot of sense to me. And to, I think, most people with a functional brain. And look, I'm not saying that people in the military-industrial complex, people around Trump, are stupid. I'm saying Trump is stupid, and he's easily manipulated because he has no core ideology. He has no principles. And he is, as I said, very easily manipulated by the people around him. For example, John Bolton, who hasn't met a war that he doesn't like. What I'm saying is there's a lot of money to be made by the defense contractors, by the politicians that get paid by the defense contractors. And they see an opening. And every time so far that we have signaled, okay, we're done in Syria, we've done what we said we were going to do, so let's get out of there. There's another gas attack. It's a little convenient. And all Tucker is doing is he's actually pointing that out and actually doing, and I hate saying this, good journalism. But these are strange times, as I said before. And when you're right, you're absolutely right. And and look, I give him a lot of credit for calling this out. It takes a lot of balls to not only criticize what the president is doing when you're on Fox News, but the media as well, especially Fox News, which also has pundits that are calling for war. So, again, he's one of the lone voices out there talking about how, wait a minute, maybe we shouldn't go into this conflict. Maybe we shouldn't start another conflict in the Middle East. That's going to cost lives and blood and treasure. And look, we know what happens to journalists that speak out against war. So, again, credit to Tucker Carlson. There's not a lot that we agree on, but on this, we totally agree. That was a weird segment. Okay, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take a quick break. I'm going to go get a drink. And then we're going to talk about weed and what John Boehner is up to. Those two things are more related than you would ever consider. So let's do that, and we'll be back. Stay right here Around the Nation. Hey everybody, we're back. Around the Nation right here, TYT Nation. Jeff Waldorf here with you. I want to give a shout out to somebody that used the super chat. This is Platypie. She says, I have so much respect and admiration for Jeff. I want to earn enough to smash them $500 super chats for this great guy. Brilliant work, my friend. Thank you. I get weird when I read stuff like that because I'm like, no, I'm not that great. I'm not that good. I want to get a lot better. I'm 100% aware of my weaknesses as a presenter, as a broadcaster. But I thank you so much for actually believing in me that much. So I do appreciate that a lot. So it's humbling, it's humbling. Thank you. If you want to help out the show and you're watching, you can use the super chat as well. And also, you want to become somebody who is a patron. You can go to patreon.com/TWATnation and support there on a monthly basis. So, all right. Thank you. Anyway, okay. So, yeah, one thing I wanted to mention is right now, we got the Facebook stuff going Mark Zuckerberg being interviewed by Congress. So I don't have any video or anything for that, but I wanted to mention mention that because look, Facebook. First of all, I use Facebook for work, right? I not only use Facebook for work, but I also, of course, use it to connect to family and friends. Do they have too much access to our data? Yes. Have we given them access to our data? Absolutely we have. That doesn't make it right. Not defending Facebook. But I'm saying their entire business model is based on taking our data that we in some cases do give them, or, they take that data and they collect that data, and then they sell it to third parties. They sell it to advertisers to service ads. So that makes people uncomfortable. That makes me uncomfortable. That's unfortunately how the social media stuff works. Again, that is exactly why that needs to change, why there needs to be a different system. But I think a lot of people, like this stuff, this social media stuff, Twitter, Facebook, it feels like we've been with it for a long time, but in reality, these are really new. These are new systems. These are new services, I guess. And they were started when tech was really the unregulated Wild West. And in some ways it still is. I think maybe in a lot of ways it still is the unregulated Wild West. But I think people are finally coming to the realization that these so-called free companies, these free platforms, were never free in the first place, because they were always collecting your data and selling it to advertisers. That's how you get a free, that's how the only way that you can explain how a free to use platform can make Mark Zuckerberg or someone like him into a multi-billionaire. And I don't think a lot of us actually realized that. And now we are. And now it shocks us. And now it's like, oh my God, I can't believe that. It turns out that Facebook was selling my data all along. Yeah, it was. And it makes a lot of sense when you realize it, when you think about it. But then a lot of us, when we signed up, we didn't. We didn't think about that. Who here reads the terms of service? Nobody. Again, I'm not saying what they're doing is right, but I think it does make sense that when you think about getting what you pay for, and we don't pay for anything because we're actually not the subscribers, or we're the product. We're not the customer. We're the product. And look, they always, I think, had that in mind when it came to Facebook. But we should be, of course, yes. I'm reading the chat here. Pat brings up a great point. She says, they provide a platform. We should understand that they're doing something in the backside. And I think that should be a lot clearer. I think it should be clear, like, hey, if you sign up for this platform, we will sell your data to serve you ads. I think that would be nice to know, that disclaimer on there. And Coffee Crow says, what if they paid people for their data? Too idealistic? And that's a super chat, and thank you for supporting the show with that, Coffee Crow. You're new in here, too. So thank you, and it's good to see you in here. Always nice to have good new people. Too idealistic? I think in today's economy, it seems like it would be too idealistic. But it would be nice. Like, hey, look, we'll sell your data to advertisers to serve you ads, but we'll give you a little bit of a cut. I guess that's sort of how weirdly YouTube works. Like, you put up the videos, you get a cut, and then the advertisers, or the company itself, I should say, gets a cut from the advertisers. But that is interesting. That is interesting. So I haven't heard that take before, but I would like to get paid for my data. That would be nice. And I think we all would enjoy that. You know who wouldn't like that? Mark Zuckerberg. So that's a good question. Okay. So there's more to the show. Let's get into our next story here. Let's talk John Boehner and weed. So talk about weird news. The former Speaker of the House, that's John Boehner, is now on the board of a major cannabis company. According to Bloomberg, the Republican former Speaker of the House has joined the advisory board of Acreage Holdings. That is a company that apparently cultivates, processes, and dispenses cannabis in 11 states. Well, that is really, really strange. So you got a former Republican Speaker of the House that is on the board of a pot company. That has so many implications, and some of them are awesome. Now, you ask him, he says, quote, why he actually joined the board. Over the last 10 to 15 years, the American people's attitudes have changed dramatically. I find myself in that same position. So basically, he's like, hey, man, look, I evolved on pot. So I will now join a company that basically supplies cannabis to 11 different states and possibly more in the future. I would say, okay, look, even if you did evolve on the issue, which is great, there's a big financial incentive. So by the way, when he was Speaker of the House, he was actually incredibly anti-pot. So when he was in power, when it mattered, he was anti-marijuana. But then suddenly, he gets out, a couple years after he gets out, he's like, you know what I'm going to do? I have evolved on this issue, especially now that marijuana is a multi-billion-dollar business. I have evolved and I will join this company. Now, he's not alone. He actually joined with former Massachusetts Governor William Weld. Now, if that name is familiar, it's because he ran with Gary Johnson in the 2016 election. But that's fine. William Weld, he's a big libertarian, and he is also fine with pot. Okay, hey, great. Now, according to Bloomberg, Weld, as I said, will join Boehner on the advisory board, which holds 35 licenses for cannabis businesses in the United States. So look, you want to say you've evolved? Okay, great. If you've actually evolved on the issue, great. If you're lighting up doobies all the time now instead of drinking whiskey, awesome, wonderful. That's actually better for you than drinking the alcohol. But let's not pretend what this is really about. It's about the money, Lebowski. Follow the money. Look, the legal cannabis market is expected to reach, according to investment bank Cowen and Company, $75 billion by 2030. And it's worth over $10 billion now. So this is John Boehner likely saying, hey, man, look, I've evolved on this issue because there is a lot of money to be made. And he's absolutely right. I mean, Colorado, Washington, California, all these states that have legalized recreational and medical marijuana have been making a lot of money off of this. So now it's not a surprise that Republicans, they're the party of big business, they're the party of money. Now they want to cash in. They're like, hey, man, ooh, that pot thing, that's looking really, really interesting. I'm going to cash in. And you know what? That's actually, look, we can talk about rich corporations cornering the market on marijuana, and that is a big legitimate concern, especially in left-wing circles. Totally agree with that. But at the same time, with John Boehner joining in, This shows that pot is mainstream. It has been mainstreamed. Now, George Allen, this is the president of Acreage, told reporters, quote, "We view this advocacy that we get from these two gentlemen as immensely positive for the industry." And he's right about that. Again, this is only mainstreaming pot among the Republican Party, which is already fairly popular in the Democratic Party. Fairly, okay, maybe not among the Democratic politicians, but among Democratic voters, it's actually incredibly popular. And you know what's funny? This actually puts John Boehner on this issue to the left of John Kennedy III, also of Massachusetts. So, big Mick resistance leader, Joe Kennedy. I said John Kennedy, didn't I? But it's Joe Kennedy III. Is to the right of John Boehner on cannabis. Insanity. This is the world that we live in now. But as I said before, the money's on the side, and the American people are on the side of marijuana. In fact, according to an October Gallup poll, 64% of Americans, including a majority of both Republicans and Democrats, say legalize it already. Legalize it, legalize it, legalize it. The American people are pretty clear. Not only that, but the business interests are lining up. You know what I said? Within 10 years. I said that a couple of years ago, so I think we got like 7 years left, but it will be legalized. Now, like Jeff Sessions, Attorney General right now, he's like, no, marijuana, awful. Jeff Sessions isn't going to be there forever. So it's very likely, probably likely that because of the Mueller investigation, Trump will find a way to get rid of Jeff Sessions. First, you got to fire Rod Rosenstein, then you got to fire Jeff Sessions, but then you got to find a replacement, all that stuff. So, look, he might not be around for all that much longer. And even if he is, finishes to the end of Trump's first term, well, he still might not be there afterwards. And, of course, if there's a progressive president that wins in 2020, then, well, I don't think I have to explain what will happen. But things are changing, and I think very, very soon, within the next decade, a little less, we will have full marijuana legalization. Jeff Sessions is basically the last gasp of anti-pot. Even Republicans now, as I said before, are jumping on this because it is big business. Okay? So, and they want to cash in. Now, on why Boehner changed his perspective, this is interesting. He said his perspective shifted when he saw the plant's efficacy in helping a close friend deal with debilitating back pain. So, okay, this could go into, oh boy, I didn't know until it happened to me or somebody close to me. Well, that's called empathy, and I guess Republicans, unless it happens to them or someone close to them, they don't quite understand. But hey, when they do develop empathy, I guess that's a good thing after all, right? Now, he also said that marijuana's potential use as a treatment for veterans also helped sway him. Plus, he had been studying the problems with the U.S. criminal justice system. Get this quote, and this is going to blow your mind. He said, quote, "When you look at the number of people in our state and federal penitentiaries who are there for possession of small amounts of cannabis, you begin to really scratch your head. We have literally filled up our jails with people who are nonviolent and, frankly, do not belong in there." So now Boehner has not only moved to the left on legalization of marijuana, to the left of some Democratic politicians, but also on criminal justice reform when it comes to possession of marijuana. Isn't it amazing what politicians who are now no longer in power no longer get that money from big corporations? For example, Corrections Corporation of America, one of the biggest private prison corporations, the biggest private prison lobbying groups as well. Isn't it amazing what happens when you no longer get that money? Isn't it amazing when you no longer have to beg these companies for bribes in order to win your campaigns, to win your elections? I mean, look, not in a million years would I have thought that John Boehner would be selling weed and talking about criminal justice reform. But it's amazing what happens when your politicians are no longer controlled by corporate money. I have now seen it all. Amazing. And again, those of you who are talking about Jeff Sessions, he's not going to be there forever, man. He's the last gasp. So once he's gone, here comes the weed. All right. Let me go here to Super Chat. Glassword says, keep up the good work. Do you have Steam? Friend. Question mark. I do have Steam. I don't remember my Steam right now, but maybe I'll put in one of my streams like tomorrow, so you guys can look at that. And maybe at some point I'll do a video game live stream, so for you guys. But thank you for the question. And seriously though, I don't remember my Steam handle because I've got it changed to Toast. It's an old joke. Let me talk about that before I get into the next story, because this is fun. Right. Okay. So back when I first signed up for Steam, it was like forever ago. Like I was like, I don't know, young. I used to play Counter-Strike at one of these internet cafes, right? So, like, I'd get in there, and I'd get in the LAN, and we'd play Counter-Strike. Well, I had the name of Toast, because, like, if I get in there, I get into the game, I'm immediately shot. And so I'm like, oh, fuck, I'm Toast. Okay, I guess I'll use that as my name. So, when I was playing Counter-Strike, I would, like, depending on which team I would end up on, I would be either terrorist Toast or anti-terrorist Toast. And I thought that was pretty funny. And I remember one time I was playing in the LAN at this internet cafe, and I was doing really well. Like, I couldn't believe how well I was doing when it came to kills. I was the top leaderboard, right? And again, this is this LAN because there are people online that absolutely fucking destroy me all the time. But in the LAN group of people that I didn't know, I was actually dominating. So what happened is all the people on my team started changing their names to breakfast foods. So we had like cornflakes, we had milk, toast, we had some fruit, and orange juice, I think, on my team. So we were like the breakfast crew. It was fantastic. I really enjoyed that. So that's a fun little story about that. But anyway, thanks for bringing that up because it's good memories. Okay, so let's get to some stories. We got more to do. Let's see. Let's talk about Sinclair. Oh, yeah. There we go. All right. So Sinclair Broadcast Group is a very right-wing company. They have a right-wing agenda. They, of course, will say, no, we don't have a right-wing agenda. We're just trying to tell you the truth when we air these very right-wing pro-Trump segments that we tell our people are must-run segments, okay, featuring people like Boris Epstein. Okay, well, hey, you want to claim that you're not biased? You're incredibly biased towards the right. But of course, somebody makes that argument, you could come back with, the media is very biased towards the left. I wouldn't say that either. I would say that there's an establishment bias. But anyway, I've talked about that before. Now, one great piece of evidence to show how they are biased towards Donald Trump specifically and the right is their embrace of Trump's message of fake news bad. And their understanding that fake news is basically anything that happens to be critical of President Trump. So that's why, as I said, they carry Trump's water on these must-run ads that they force older local news stations to run. So now, Sinclair has, of course, been the news ever since Deadspin put together this compilation of these different local news anchors, all reading from this pro-Trump, anti-fake news, anti-mainstream media, whatever, script. And it was a super, super creepy strip. Now, since then, they've been getting a lot of heat and criticism, which they, of course, 100% deserve. Now, Sinclair also wants to acquire Tribune. Now, right now, they've got about 30-something% share of the U.S. media market. That's, again, mostly local news stations, right? Now, Tribune, if they get the deal, if it gets approved, they will have about 72% of the entire television market share in the United States. That is a lot. That is a massive amount of television stations for Sinclair to actually run. Now, as I said before, they have a right-wing ideological bent. I mean, look, if you're making your stations run segments from former Trump campaign guys that happen to be pro-Trump and on issues that Trump talks about and taking his side on it, then yes, there is a problem, and that's also not an accident, and that is the problem with Sinclair. Now, The Guardian, it gets worse. Now, The Guardian has just learned that Sinclair's CEO, David Smith, had met with Trump after he won the presidential nomination back in 2016. So apparently they could see like, hey man, look, Trump's like the real deal, man. He's dominating this field, and there's a very good chance he would become president. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to meet with him, and basically we're going to swear fealty. Let me explain. I asked Trump, according to The Guardian, would you like us to embed with you during your campaign? And he brought a bunch of people into the room and said, well, whatever. And I said, quote, we are here to deliver your message, period. Now, that's something that seems a little odd, right? Imagine if, for example, MSNBC came into a room with Hillary Clinton and said, don't worry, Hillary, I'm here to deliver your message. Well, people might naturally freak out because it sounds terrible. Now, Smith told The Guardian, however, the comments signaled that Trump could be interviewed by Sinclair whenever he wanted. Not that the company was biased in his favor. Oh, well, that's interesting. But isn't that sort of a bias? Hey, Donald Trump, you can have all the access that you could ever want with us. But would they do the same deal with Hillary Clinton? Would they have done the same deal with Bernie Sanders? Would Lincoln Chafee have gotten that same deal with Sinclair? I mean, if they went and offered that, and they said they offered that to Hillary Clinton, to be fair, we said the same thing to Hillary Clinton too. But okay, what about the other people? If you're going to be fair media, then you should probably do that to everybody. You should probably spread that message to everybody. Hey, don't worry. I just want to get out your message because we believe in fairness in reporting. But again, I don't really believe that because as they've shown, the company is massively biased in his favor. And of course, they ended up getting a lot of access to the Trump campaign. Now, in fact, Smith even said that, quote, "What I get out of it is access to a guy who's running for president, or a guy who's running for senator or governor or anything else. As any news organization does. You want to be on TV? Sure, we'd like to have you on TV." So that, of course, is what it's about. It's about access. And now, and look, how did Smith try to use that access? Well, that's also a very interesting question. According to the Guardian report, Smith had met with Trump at the White House as part of an effort to discuss a product that would give authorities the ability to broadcast directly to people's phones and televisions. So they explain, the company has been a driving force in the development of a new broadcasting standard known as Next Gen TV, and is one of the first involved in making chips for televisions, cell phones, and other devices to receive the new transmissions. So this Next Gen TV requires a chip inside of your television, a chip that Sinclair makes, a chip that Sinclair will tried to lobby the government to make sure that these chips were mandatory. Well, what effect will that have? Well, for one, Sinclair would make a boatload of money. If now their chip is required in every television, cell phone, or any other of these devices that are new, well, then they would make a ton of money selling that chip. So, look, number one, that would be a big benefit to access, right? Being able to convince the president, which thankfully he did not, to say, or to get the government to try to use that standard, to adopt that standard. And look, he lobbied heavily for that. They did. Now, what is this Next Gen TV? Before I go further. As well as entertainment, the chip allows mobile devices to receive messages from an upgraded government public warning system, through which authorities can send video statements and multimedia even when telephone lines are down. Now look, on the one hand, that would be a good use of technology, right? Oh, having the government be able to send you messages about, just alerts on things like disasters in your area and where to go for help and things like that. Okay. Now, look, in principle, well, that sounds like it could be an incredibly helpful technology. However, this is also being sold by Sinclair, being controlled by Sinclair. Sinclair would, again, make all this money off selling this chip and also would have control, I believe, over some of the messages. And if they do, oh boy, I wouldn't trust them at all for that. Not at all. So it's very, very wary. It makes me very wary. And of course, as I said, them saying, hey, look, we just want to get out your message. So, we're allowing you access to this. And then I'm going to use my access to try and lobby the government so that we can make millions and millions of dollars. That is the problem. That is a swamp. So, again, that's what makes me incredibly uncomfortable about this, as if I already was not uncomfortable about what Sinclair had been doing all along. But this is another reason to not trust this company and to, stop the deal. Again, I'm not in favor of this deal, but this kind of shows you what kind of company Sinclair actually is. Has it been an hour already? Holy crap. I do not have time for the rest of my stories. So we're going to have to save food stamps and welfare for tomorrow for the show. Again, I cannot believe how fast this hour actually went. So it's amazing. I love it when there's a good, fast show. So, not because it's fast, but it just means it's a good show. All right, everybody. Thank you for going around the nation with me today. Thank you guys for the super chats. I definitely appreciate that. You're awesome. You're amazing. If you haven't already, please give us a like and a share. Also, If you want to support the show, again, Super Chat is definitely a way to do it. So I definitely encourage that. There are other ways too. Patreon.com/TYTNation. That also helps us. So any way that you can support the show, I encourage it, and I thank you all for doing so. Couldn't exist without you guys. So, all right. Thanks, everybody. Love you guys. And remember, change begins with you. Good night, TYT Nation. We'll see you all tomorrow.